Let's clean up the Wildcats logo together. We're going to start by separating the colors. If I click automatic, you can see Graphic Tracer chooses the colors. It's got black, it's got red, it's got the gold, and it's got the gray. Now we don't want to trace that gray. In fact, we want to eliminate it. So I'm going to select that gray and I'm just going to hit delete on my keyboard, or we can click delete down here, either way, to delete that. But we want to take that and we want to eliminate that color altogether. So I'm going to select my background color here. That's the square with the line through it. And with my little eyedropper tool, I'm just going to click on that gray and add that gray into the background color. Now by doing that, when I click process, it's going to process all of the colors in this image to just these three colors, the black, the red, and the gold, and whatever my background is, which is going to be white. So I'm going to process that image like so. And so at this point, once we have processed our image, we separate our colors, we're ready to do our auto trace vectorization. So I'm going to move over to my create vectors and click on that, and Graphic Tracer then does a quick vectorization. Now you can see that the vectorization is a little bit rough. You know, it doesn't look too bad when it's small, and everything, all of our tolerances were set at 0. Now I could get a better trace by adjusting my tolerances and tracing different sections of the graphic, but we do have a fairly powerful here tool. If I choose, like for this eye, I could retrace just that eye by selecting that object and decreasing the amount of detail and corners and lines, and I can redo or retrace just that selected like so, and you can see how it changed the trace on that eye. I could actually go through and retrace every object in that way in this graphic, but we're not going to do that. We're going to use our cleanup tools. So we're going to begin by going to the first cleanup tool over here, our text tool and our fontai. We have text that's really rough here, and we can let Graphic Tracer, the fontai tool, do that automatically. So I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to draw a box around the word Grand Prix Winter 2017. And we're going to go to identify font and replace. Now you can see when I selected that, I caught a little part of that cat's ear. So I'm going to hold my shift key down and click on that. And it's going to remove that from this font search. And I'm going to do that for the eye as well. This line here is a baseline for my text, which is not straight line. So I'm going to use this drop down, and we're going to come down to circular arc, and it's going to recalculate the baseline for the letters in that upper arc. At this point, I click Next, and Graphic Tracer is going to try and determine what letters it's going to be looking for. And so I have to do a confirmation here. We've got a G, capital G, so the shift arrow. It thinks that's a capital A, and I need to tell it, no, that is not a capital A, that's a capital R. ANDPRIXWINNE. And now there's another R that it thinks it's an A, so I need to tell it that's an R. And then we have numbers here, 2017. Once I've confirmed the Graphic Tracer knows what letters it's going to be looking for, I come over and I click Next, and Graphic Tracer will do its search looking for the correct font. Now as it goes through its search in a font library, currently over 100,000 fonts, plus any of my own fonts, and you can see the first selection it has here is it's close, but you can see the D, the center of the D is different, the G, and we're looking through, coming through, the R is not quite right. You know, the 2 is and the 1 and the 7, though it's a close font. And if this was the only font that it found, I may be able to get away with using this particular font. It says Euro style, but as I scroll down through, you can see, you know, it's not the correct font, you know, when we go through. So I'm going to try stretching and see if I can get a closer font if we distort a font by stretching. So I click search, and Graphic Tracer will seek to compensate for a font that's been distorted. Now as you look here, it says Monogramma D bold extended, and you can see that that is the correct font. It's much closer match, Monogramma. Now we have here a collection of precision vector shapes. I can click on that, and if I don't have that font, I actually could replace with that with those shapes, but I do have that font down here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to replace with the actual font. I click replace like so, and we have just very quickly replaced that scan text with nice perfect text created from the original font. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom down here. I'm going to select the word racing team like so, and we're going to come over here to identify and replace, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to a circular arc, make sure the baseline is correct. I click next, and I check my letters, RACINGTEAM. Everything looks good, so I click next, and Graphic Tracer will identify that font. So as we go through here, and you can see here it found it Meta Bold Turk Caps, but that's not a font that I own. We're going to scroll down through here, and here's Meta Plus Bold from the Master Font Collection. That is a font that I own, and that does look like a good match, so I'm going to click replace on that. So we've replaced those two different fonts. Now I'm going to search for the Wildcats. Now I could marquee around that, or I could choose a letter. If I right click my mouse with that first letter selected, I can select here same color. Graphic Tracer will go through and select all of that same color in that graphic. So when I come over here to identify and replace, you can see I've got the Wildcat selected, but I also have that eye selected. So I'm going to hold my shift key down, click on that, and deselect that eye. Now if I left that eye up there, it would throw off my font search. So I want to have only the letters that I'm searching for as a part of this search. So that's not straight line text. It's really, it's kind of on a circular arc. If you see this W here, it's been distorted. Because that's a distorted text, I'm going to use this drop down and come down to distorted. Now I'm looking for a distortion that would be similar to what I have here. So as I scroll across here, I'm going to choose this distortion right here, and where Graphic Tracer then recalculates the baseline. And I'm going to just come and I'm going to just slightly adjust the lines of that distortion, so it's just covering the baseline, and the top looks good. So I click next, and now I have to type in the letters, and I need to say that this is a capital W. If I use my tab key, I tab it over the next letter, I, L, D. Whoops, I got two letters here. I need to be a little more careful. W, I, L, D, capital C, A, T, and S. Once I have associated the right letters that Graphic Tracer is going to be looking for, I click next, and Graphic Tracer then will search, and it will apply a distortion to that. And you can see here it found Meta Plus Black, and that is the correct font. If I want to adjust that line just slightly like so, I can bring that down to where it matches up almost perfectly with my trace in the background, and I click replace. Now with that Wildcats, I've replaced that. You can see here that my contour is not quite right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose the word Wildcats, and I'm going to come over here to replace objects where we have the replace contour. So we're going to let Graphic Tracer recalculate that contour. Close here, it's going to say 0.04, so I've got remove old contour. We're going to do a preview, and you can see it's not quite large enough, so we're going to go through and I'm going to change that to 0.05, and we'll preview that again. And that is much closer. I could probably even go a little bit closer. I'm going to go 0.55 and preview and draw that even a bit closer to what I had. And the black line is going to get taken out, and it's going to be replaced with the red line. So I click apply, and I've replaced my contour. We can go through with my adjusting shapes. I'm going to come over and we're just going to start working our way down. You can see on these lines, the red lines are curves and green lines are straight lines. So I'm going to double click on that, and I'm going to come over to the other side here, and I'm going to turn that into a straight line. Now I'm going to select this node right here, And I'm going to hold my control button down and choose this node over here. And you can see it selected all the nodes going this way. If I click on that again, it chooses the nodes going the other way. And I'm going to convert those nodes to an arc. So now you can see I've got a nice circular arc going across the top there. I'm going to do that same thing, and I'm going to choose this node right here on this and hold my control button down and choose here, and I'm going to convert that to an arc as well. Now, when I do that, Graphic Tracer remembers the center point of that arc, and so it's going to maintain a nice circular arc and parallel lines, and we'll do the same thing on that. I'm going to make this straight line right here. Now I've cleaned up this little piece right here. I'm going to take that object that I've just cleaned up and select that object, and I'm going to do replace objects, copy shape to an object, and I have that shape selected. If I come over here to this side, you can see how that object is there. You can see the preview. If I hold my shift key down, it mirrors it, and I click, and I've cleaned up that side right there. We're going to continue with on our cleanup. I'm going to come over here and we're going to select that little corner, and we're going to convert that to a corner. I can hold my space bar down and see my original bitmap in the background. I'm going to take that node and let's come over to this side, and I'm going to choose this node right here and come over here, and it selects all the nodes between those points there, and I'm going to convert that to a straight line. I'm going to choose that node right there, and I'm going to hold my control button down, this node over here, and selects all those nodes on that arc, and I'm going to make a nice arc out of that. Now with this node over here that's highlighted, I'm going to hold my control button down and select that node, and we're going to convert that to a curve. And I'm going to come up here and click on that node, holding my control button down, and we're going to convert that to a curve. And I can just work my way right around this this cat like so. Just and I'm hitting the C on my keyboard and work my way around that cat. You know, if I want to clean him up, you know, a little bit better, and we're going to make that, select that, and we'll make that into a curve, and just working our way through, make that into a line, and we'll make that into a corner, and we'll make that into a curve, and we're going to make this into a curve on this side. And you can just go through, and I can also just come and select a bunch of nodes like that and just hit the C on my keyboard. I can come through and select sections like that and make that into a corner. I can choose a node here. Well, we'll make a corner right here. Well, maybe you don't have to do that. I'm going to choose this node right here rather than make a corner, and we're going to make a line here. And with that node selected, I'll come up here and choose that one, make a nice smooth curve there. You know, if I want to just come through and use auto cleanup, I can choose the auto cleanup, and this will automatically reduce nodes on the path that I've selected. And when I click apply, you can see now that there's fewer nodes there. The last we've got here, we've got actually the lower portion of this graphic. So I'm going to select these nodes right here, and we'll make that into a nice corner, and we'll make this into a nice corner by selecting that into a corner. We'll double click on this and make that into a straight line, and this into a straight line, and I'm going to highlight that, and we'll make that to a corner, and click on this node right over here, and it highlights all the nodes between those points, and we're going to make a nice smooth arc right there. And as we work our way around here, we'll make that to a curve, and we'll come up and turn that into a corner. And with that, I come over to seeing my final. I come over to save, export this as an EPS, an AI, DXF, PLT, SVG. One click, bring it right into Illustrator or CorelDRAW. Thank you. I hope this helps you.